It began, like so many disappearances in Brazil's troubled regions, quietly and without much notice. A 19-year-old girl named Débora Bessa vanished in Rio Branco, Brazil, but just 2 days later, her name had become unforgettable to thousands when a horrifying video began circulating on the internet, one that showed her final, excruciating moments.
Agora não fez normal não, mano.
Olha pra ali, ó, pra tu ver ali, ó. Olha, essa
Vê, porra, tu tá ligado? É nóis, caralho, é nóis, porra.
bora cavar, bora cavar.
Muita coisa, mano. Jamais isso aí.
On January 9th, 2018, Débora Bessa, only 19 years old, suddenly disappeared in Rio Branco, the capital of Acre in northwest Brazil. At first, her case didn't make national headlines. People go missing in Brazil every day. Some leave by choice, while others vanish into the shadows of urban crime. But for Debora's family, the silence was unbearable. According to initial reports, she was abducted during a robbery involving a motorcycle taxi driver. Disturbed by her unexplained absence, her family launched their own search and promptly informed the authorities about her disappearance. The following days were full of worry and doubt. Local media started publishing photos and information about Débora, appealing to the public for help in finding her alive. Just 2 days later, on January 11th, the silence was shattered. Debora's family started getting strange phone calls and messages. What started as whispers soon became scary rumors. On January 13th, she was found in a shallow grave in the wooded area of the Caladinho neighborhood. Debora's sister Sarah and other relatives were searching on their own and ended up finding the body. Then the video appeared. Within days, a horrifying video flooded social media platforms and messaging apps, quickly going viral even beyond Brazil's borders. The original source of the video is unknown, but it gained popularity in early 2018 and resurfaced in 2019 after being mistakenly associated with Malaysia. The video itself is short, just 59 seconds, and filmed in a rainforest-like setting during daylight. Débora is shown kneeling, clearly terrified, while a hooded man stands behind her holding a machete. She says she did nothing wrong. However, the man wielding the machete demands that she look directly at the camera. "You unalived my brothers," he says. Moments later, the brutal execution begins. He pulls her down, and she lets out a terrified cry. The attacker moves to harm her neck, but she fights back fiercely to defend herself. A second person joins in, wielding a sharp knife and striking her. She cries out in distress and falls backward. The first attacker then moves aggressively toward her upper body, while the other continues to attack her midsection. At one point, she raises her hand to defend herself, but still sustains a painful injury. Eventually, her cries fade, though she keeps moving as they continue to attack her. The scene becomes unbearable to watch. At one point, the weapon strikes with a harsh, cracking sound. Her body jerks violently, and she seems to vomit, though horrifically, nothing comes from her mouth, but from her neck. After several more blows, her body falls motionless, likely from severe trauma, bringing the grim act to its conclusion. The attacker lifts Debora's remains and shows them to the camera, while others join in, making symbolic hand gestures before the video ends. Authorities acted swiftly. The video had gone viral, sparking public outrage and calls for justice. A police investigation was launched immediately, and within days, several individuals shown in the video were identified and arrested. Andre, a 28-year-old man, was quickly identified as the person holding the machete. Another person involved was an 18-year-old girl named Lucielle. She was arrested for recording the video of what happened, but there was more to the story. According to authorities, 5 individuals were involved in the crime, 3 teenagers and 2 adults. Among the attackers, 2 were aged 14 and 17, and one of them was identified as the second attacker who hurt Débora with a knife in the video. Although the individuals involved were identified, not all names were disclosed, particularly those of minors, who are protected under Brazilian law. To the outside world, Débora appeared to be just another victim of senseless violence. However, as the case unfolded, a darker backstory came to light. Débora, according to her sister and police reports, had previously been involved with Bandidos 13, a rival gang of the Comando Vermelho. After giving birth, she reportedly requested to leave the group and even recorded a video announcing her departure.
My name is Débora. My nickname is Barbie Beck, and I'm leaving Bandidos 13.
However, leaving a criminal faction is rarely straightforward, and her exit put her in serious danger. After leaving gang life behind, she tried to rebuild her life, but she continued to be a target. Her sister Sarah revealed that Débora had been hiding in the industrial district neighborhood because of threats from her former gang. However, it wasn't Bandidos 13 that ultimately took her life. It was the rival faction CV, allegedly acting out of revenge. By January 29th, just 20 days after Débora's death, André was arrested and confessed to the crime. He admitted to orchestrating the entire act. He claimed that in 2013, Débora was responsible for the death of his younger brother Juan. According to André, Débora had set up Juan to be ambushed and killed by her gang. He had waited years to track her down. He explained that he discovered Débora had left a rival faction after finding her in a WhatsApp group. To lure her in, André initiated a private conversation. Débora requested narcotics and a gun, so André invited her to his home in the Caladinho neighborhood to retrieve them. However, André's account contradicts that of Débора's sister, who insisted that Débora was supposed to visit her son on the day of the crime. André admitted to telling Débora he didn't have a gun, but did have narcotics. He wrapped a piece of paper in plastic and showed it to her, asking her to come get it. When she arrived, he led her to the location where the crime took place. He confessed to unalive her out of revenge, emphasizing that he wouldn't have done it just because someone ordered him to, especially since he has 7 children to support. He added, "It ruined my life. My mother now takes prescription medication because she saw her son Juan being taken." André also stated that he invited others, including a 17-year-old minor, to the scene solely to record the event. However, the teenager also hurt the victim. The 17-year-old later turned himself into the police after being urged by his father and confessed to participating in the young woman's death. He is seen in the footage using a knife, while André was using a machete. André claimed the 17-year-old made a mistake by hurting her, saying, "It was just me." He acknowledged the gravity of his crime and asked for forgiveness, saying, "What I did is not right, but she ended my life, my mother's life, and hurt many others." He insisted that everyone knew Débora was no saint, describing her as a woman, but a very dangerous one. He repeatedly expressed remorse and asked God for forgiveness. Despite André's personal confession, authorities suspected the crime was orchestrated by a cartel. The number of people involved and the style of execution closely resembled previous punishments carried out by factions. Within a few days, all those involved were captured. Luciele, the 18-year-old girl who recorded the video, was also arrested and charged. Initially, both André and Luciele were sentenced to over 60 years in prison. However, André's sentence was later reduced to 36 years. There was no change in Luciele's sentence. It sparked widespread outrage among the public, and most of all, among Deborah's grieving family. Deborah's mother was devastated. She told reporters that she had no idea the sentence could be appealed and was shocked to learn that Andre's sentence had been reduced. "I thought justice had been served," she said. "Now I feel ashamed. How can the state allow this to happen? My daughter was hunted and unalived, yet her attacker is given a second chance." The family, unable to afford a private lawyer, felt helpless against the court's decision. The police investigator pointed out that Débora had taken part in executions similar to the one she faced. However, her family denied these claims, showing her as a young woman trying to leave her past behind for the sake of her son. Brazil's public security secretary added to the complexity by stating there was strong evidence that Débora had been involved in past gang violence. However, many questioned whether that justified what happened to her, especially given how brutal, public, and degrading the incident was. The death of Débora Bessa is more than just news. It shows the deep violence, revenge, and moral confusion affecting many parts of Brazil. In neighborhoods where the law is weak or missing, criminal groups act like judge, jury, and enforcer. People like Débora, whether guilty or not, can easily become caught in this harsh cycle. She was just 19, a young mother with a past, yes, but also with a future full of potential. That chance for change was stolen from her, not only by the machete, but by a society that failed to protect its own. As her mother put it, "Even if she belonged to a gang, does that mean they can do anything to her? Unalive her and record it like a movie? Where is the justice for women, for families like ours?" The story of Débora Bessa serves as a tragic reminder of what happens when violence is seen as the solution to every conflict. Whether victim, perpetrator, or both, no one truly wins. In the end, all that remains is silence.
My daughter had to have a closed casket. The smell was so bad, even the family couldn't stand it. A gathering held before the funeral lasted only 5 minutes. I couldn't even see her one